Welcome to Elevate English. Elevate your English. Elevate your life. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe to the Elevate English channel. Let's start our story.
Title: Whispers Between the Lines. In the heart of a charming hill town nestled in misty woods stood an old bookstore named Timeless Tales. It was a quaint, rambling place with creaking wooden floors and shelves that seemed to stretch into eternity. The air was always tinged with the scent of old paper and pine. The store was run by 29-year-old Arav, a soft-spoken man with ink-stained fingers and a perpetual air of distraction. Arav wasn't just a bookseller. He was a dreamer. Once, he had been a promising writer with grand aspirations of publishing his own stories. But years of rejection had dimmed his confidence, and now he spent his days surrounded by others' words, afraid to confront his own. His one constant companion was his leather-bound notebook, filled with stories he had long stopped believing would ever see the light of day. One rainy afternoon, as thunder rolled through the hills, the bell above the shop door jingled. Arav looked up from his ledger to see a woman step inside, shaking off the rain. She was in her late 20s, with wild curls and a scarf draped over her head. Her presence seemed to light up the dim room. "Is this a place for travelers or dreamers?" she asked with a grin, her voice playful and lilting. Arav blinked, momentarily thrown. "It's a place for anyone who loves stories," he replied cautiously. The woman introduced herself as Mira, a traveler passing through the town. She had a knack for making every moment feel like an adventure, whether it was buying a dusty novel or asking Arav about his favorite books. As the rain poured outside, Mira explored the store, pulling out books at random, reading snippets aloud, and peppering Arav with questions. "Do you write?" she asked suddenly, noticing the notebook on the counter. Arav quickly closed it. "Not anymore," he said curtly. Mira didn't press, but gave him a knowing smile. "You should," she said simply. In the days that followed, Mira became a regular visitor. She would stop by to chat, sometimes with stories of her travels, other times with quiet moments of shared reading. She brought a kind of vitality into Arav's life he hadn't realized was missing. Her laughter filled the shop, and her curiosity brought out sides of him he thought had vanished. One day, while dusting the shelves, Arav found Mira sitting cross-legged on the floor, lost in an old poetry book. She looked up at him and said, "You know, there's a kind of magic in this place. It feels alive, like every story here has its own heartbeat." Arav, drawn by her words, found himself opening up. "That's why I love it," he admitted. "Books are safe. They don't disappoint you the way people can." Mira tilted her head, her expression thoughtful. "But books don't surprise you, either. Life does." Over time, Arav found himself writing again, inspired by Mira's boundless energy and her stories of the world beyond the town. But he kept it a secret, too scared to share his words. Meanwhile, Mira became his muse, unknowingly finding her way into every line he wrote. Their bond grew stronger, but Arav's fears of inadequacy kept him from revealing the depth of his feelings. And then one evening, Mira announced she was leaving. "I've been here longer than I planned," she said, a wistful smile on her face. "There's a whole world out there waiting for me." Arav's heart sank. He wanted to tell her how much she had changed him, how her presence had reignited a spark he thought was gone forever. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, he nodded, hiding his turmoil behind a forced smile. The night before she was set to leave, Arav made a decision. He stayed up until dawn, writing furiously. When he was done, he carefully tore the pages from his notebook, tied them with a ribbon, and placed them in a book Mira had been reading in the shop, a collection of travel essays she had promised to buy before she left. The next morning, Mira came to say goodbye. Arav handed her the book, his hands trembling slightly. "Something to remember the shop by," he said softly. Mira smiled and hugged him. "Thank you, Arav, for everything." After she left, the bookstore felt emptier than ever. Arav regretted not telling her how he truly felt, but part of him hoped his words in the notebook would convey what he couldn't. Weeks passed, and Arav threw himself into the shop, trying to fill the void Mira had left. One day, he received a postcard. It was from Mira with a simple message. "Your words are the most beautiful place I've ever traveled to. I'm coming back to read the rest." Arav's heart soared. For the first time in years, he felt like his story wasn't just words on a page. It was alive, unfolding in the most unexpected way. When Mira returned, they didn't need many words. Their smiles and the unspoken promise between them said everything. Together, they began a new chapter, one where dreams, stories, and love intertwined seamlessly. The end.